All right, everyone. Kamala Harris was asked the other day, basically, did you have any disagreements with Joe Biden and stuff like that? Why did you never criticize him? And she came out with what is effectively an excuse. We'll get into that. Well, it's traditional for people not to criticize the president that they've served under. This is mostly true, actually. She's not technically wrong, although Mike Pence does exist. Historically speaking, people don't criticize the president that they've served under until later. Later on, they can do a tell-all or something like that. It's partially for politically pragmatic purposes. If Kamala Harris were to come out right now and say, well, here's a list of things I disagreed with Joe on, would it look good, and would she necessarily continue having the support of the DNC? Not necessarily. So that's number one. Technically speaking, she's mostly right, actually, when she says that. But there's an ulterior motive for the lack of criticism. Or rather the statement that, well, it's traditional not to criticize them. That's an excuse. What this signals to me is that she does have concerns and criticisms. And I think I know exactly the two big ones, the things that she would like to talk about, but for politically pragmatic reasons at the moment can't really talk about. Number one is that I have a sneaking suspicion that her entourage, her people, wanted Joe Biden to resign, and to have resigned some time ago. They knew that he was mentally unfit. He still is mentally unfit. The Democrats ramble all the time about Donald Trump supposedly being mentally unwell. We've known that about Joe Biden for a couple of years, and yet for some reason, despite the fact that he's not fit to run for office, he's fit to lead the country in the here and now. I find that very funny. And she knew it. She met with Joe Biden, his bestie, and all of these other things. So it's a mythology. We'll get into reason number two in a moment. I think she wanted him to resign. What this would have done is given her the incumbency. So now she's Madam President. She gains incumbency. She can sort of do her own thing. She can mint whoever she wants as running mate. She would have been able to do whatever she wanted. I think she wants that power. She's power hungry. That's number one. Number two is the border czar thing. I think this is a real sticking point between Biden and his loyal camp and Kamala and her loyal camp. Here's why. I've always believed that it was Jill Biden's idea to appoint her border czar. Knowing that the administration would be unable politically to maneuver into such a position where they could do anything about the border crisis, that it would continue to be a major hassle. What does Jill do? Jill Biden never liked Kamala. Kamala Harris was literally chosen as a diversity hire. She was chosen for no other reason. Ideologically, she doesn't form a counterbalance to Joe Biden. If anything, she's further left on a few issues. She's further left on taxation. She's further left on environmental regulation. And she's certainly much more vicious when it comes to, expanding the police state and authoritarianism in general. Other than that, ideologically speaking, there's a 90% overlap. So it's not for that purpose. The reason why Jill doesn't like Kamala, and Kamala doesn't like Jill, and their staff allegedly on multiple occasions have sparred with one another over, who's going to go to this meeting, what's the timing of this diplomatic, thing that we're doing, what are the ramifications of this budget or whatever, is because Jill Biden's an old white plantation mom. She's sort of like a Hillary Clinton. To her, Kamala Harris is the help. And Kamala Harris, the young upstart, is like, look, I've been fucking prosecutor, DA, I've been a senator, and now I'm, the vice president. Who are you to talk down to me? Much like with the Obamas and the white liberal NIMBYists around them that secretly held their nose and didn't really like Obama that much at all, and again, in private company, surrounded by their lily white friends, probably told bigoted jokes about him. Again, I've been around upper middle class white liberals. You'd be surprised at what you hear when you give them a couple joints. I think there is an explicit and very, very interpersonal animosity between Kamala Harris and the people that want that, turn the page, forward, progress, all this other sloganeered bullshit, and people who want, hey, let's calm down, let's maintain the 90s, 2000s era sort of liberal hegemon, the uniparty core of the neoliberal movement, and that's represented by older white dudes mainly, people like Joe Biden. So I think that the border czar placement was Jill's idea. I don't think it was Biden's idea. I think it was Jill's idea. Jill said to Joe, hey, I don't really like this bitch. Let's give her an assignment that she can't possibly win on. Give her some dead weight. I don't even think that they necessarily expected that she would be running for office. I think that Jill genuinely believed that Joe was going to carry that. And I think that she's spicy about that too. She's a very stand behind your man sort of thing. It's actually rather funny. What Kamala's doing here is she's giving a scapegoat, basically. What she should have done, assuming she was being honest, is said, yeah, I have differences of opinion with Joe. There are things I do differently, but she has repeatedly refused to do that. When asked not that many days ago, can you think of anything you would have done differently? No, not off the top of my head, no. I wouldn't change a thing. She's doing that because she doesn't want to spar with the other side of the uniparty Dems during an election year. Now, afterwards, if she's elected, or if she's not elected, you can expect her to pull a Hillary Clinton and do a little bit of tell-all backstabbing. A little insinuation here, a little bit of an illusion there, stuff like that. Well, you know, I always had my misgivings about Joe's border policy. As borders are, I was hampered. I wish I had had more of a role. I could have done more. I felt that this regulation was too onerous and that this regulation should have passed. She's going to do something like that because she's entirely self-serving. And she'll write a book and she'll get an MSNBC slot or something like that. Fall into the dustbin of history with the other has-beens, basically. I think that she would love to come out right now and differentiate herself from Joe Biden, especially because his ideology is dead weight. The fact that she's tied in with the administration is not doing her any favors. Only the fact that she's not Joe himself and hasn't had a complete, utter meltdown on a debate stage. You know, she actually was, well, kind of coherent, at least not in the doddering sense, which she didn't have that problem, and cackles and stuff like that, and it's off-putting. But she's capable of formulating a sentence, generally speaking. She would love to do that differentiation. She'd love to be critical of the administration. She simply can't. I think that, by the way, again, rankles her. I don't think that she's happy about that fact. She probably wants to, and her hand is like, Ms. Harris, at this particular moment, that would be precarious, politically speaking. Wait until after the election. Regardless of what happens, then you can go ahead and throw him under the bus. By the way, at the rate that he's receding, Joe Biden still takes his 3-day weekends just to recuperate and recharge his batteries, after injecting a little bit of adrenochrome, I suppose. I suppose that there will probably continue to be that animosity. I think the Bidens might get involved with it too, like when Joe croaks, Jill's probably going to come out and go rogue. That's about all. Peace out.